Progressives are supposed to be the ones who care deeply about sensitively and responsibly handling issues related to mental health, which is why they tell us we need sensitivity readers and trigger warnings and safe spaces and all that nonsense. But for some people on the left, that apparently all goes out the window when there's an agenda to be pushed, because then they don't mind exploiting mental health or even exploiting a suicide. At least, that's sure what it looks like after the irresponsible and reckless way that many progressive leaders have responded to the death by suicide of Aaron Bushnell, an active duty Air Force service member who killed himself this past week in protest of Israel's war in the Gaza Strip. Now, of course, we should all feel compassion for Bushnell and his family, because it's a tragedy whenever a life is lost so prematurely. But you'd think that even the most ardent supporters of Palestine would not be glorifying or lionizing him for taking his own life because of the well-studied way that encourages copycats and future suicides. You'd be wrong. The left-wing academic and presidential candidate Cornel West tweeted praising Bushnell's extraordinary courage and commitment and said he died for, quote, truth and justice. Similarly, Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein tweeted out his last words and urged, rest in power, Aaron Bushnell. Former Pink Floyd member Roger Waters called him an all-American hero, and the socialist influencer Owen Jones, who boasts a whopping 1.1 million Twitter followers, wrote, Aaron Bushnell died because he had too much humanity for a world run by people who don't have any. You get the idea. Social media post after social media post told millions of impressionable people that taking your life like this somehow makes you admirable or even a martyr. It's particularly disturbing how content like that was pushed to millions of young people, in particular on TikTok, because research shows that young people who are experiencing mental health distress are among the most at risk of the suicide contagion effect. You don't need to have a PhD in psychology to see how this could lead to deadly consequences. All it takes is for one troubled or mentally distressed young person out there to see the hero worship that Bushnell is receiving and think that, hey, maybe they want to be remembered like that. They want to make a difference as they're supposedly being told that Bushnell did. Study after study after study has shown how irresponsible coverage and glorification of suicide encourages copycats. And these people who are doing this, they may not intentionally be doing so, but they could cause additional lives to be lost. That's totally reckless, especially from the people who are supposed to care about mental health and be the most sensitive to all this. But that all apparently went out the window this time when left-wing activists decided that their pro-Palestine, anti-Israel agenda was more important. They could inadvertently encourage further suicides and copycats, all while having absolutely no effect on the war in Gaza. I mean, does anybody really believe that Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu is going to change course, change what the Israeli military is doing because some random person 5,000 miles away died by suicide? Don't hold your breath waiting on that one. Thankfully, not everybody on the left has succumbed to this madness. The reliably progressive Slate writer Mark Joseph Stern spoke out against his own side and triggered ample backlash merely by saying, I strongly oppose valorizing any form of suicide as noble, principled, or legitimate form of political protest. People suffering mental illness deserve empathy and respect, but it is wildly irresponsible to praise them for using a political justification to take their own life. Look, of course critics of Israel's war against Hamas have every right to make their voices heard, but it really shouldn't be too much to ask that they do so without exploiting and endangering mentally struggling, impressionable young Americans.